Good afternoon and welcome to our August monthly inspiration webinar series at Lotsa Helping Hands. My name is Brooks Kenny and the webinar for this afternoon is called Help on the Homefront. And we're delighted to welcome all of you as we share information about how to use Lotsa Helping Hands when supporting a military family. We're going to kick things off by a special welcome from our co-founder and CEO, Hal Chapel. So Hal, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Brooks. I'm delighted to be here with you today to welcome participants in this special webinar in our inspiration series, Help on the Homefront. Our Help on the Homefront campaign comes out of our deep commitment here at Lotsa Helping Hands to promote the power of communities providing help to those in need through our free service. To date, through our outreach and partnerships with such organizations as Wounded Warrior Project, we've had the honor to witness more than 500 Lotsa Helping Hands communities that have helped military families across the country. Some communities have been helping a single family faced with the sudden changes in everyday life as they struggled trying to balance care for a wounded soldier. Other communities have been created to assist a young family when one of the spouses leaves on a deployment. And there are many open communities that are helping multiple military families in towns and neighborhoods. We have been overwhelmed, in fact, by the response to our campaign and our own efforts to spread the word about how you can use Lotsa Helping Hands to create a private community to organize help for a single military family, or to coordinate volunteers in what we call open communities in local towns to help multiple military families in need. Today, I want to first express our deep gratitude to Sarah Miller, who is joining us to share her story, and to Celine O'Neill, who has graciously allowed us to share her story. I'm sure both will leave all of you inspired. We recognize that many of you listening with us today are looking to get involved, to do more to support a military family, to volunteer your time. To you, we say thank you. We are also delighted that a number of military support organizations are joining us today. The work you all do to support servicemen and women and their families is so critical, and we would be pleased to be a resource for you as you continue to do your great work. Together, with each other's support, we at Lotsa Helping Hands can achieve our vision of a world where everyone can give and receive help through the power of community. Thank you for being part of ours. Brooks, thank you. Back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Hal. Really appreciate those inspiring words to kick us off today. I think all of us at Lotsa Helping Hands are so inspired and excited to be sharing with you all today as part of our Help on the Homefront campaign. My name is Brooks Kenny. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and on the founding team here at Lotsa. But more importantly, our guest speaker today is Sarah Miller, who you'll be hearing from in a few moments, who's going to be sharing her specific story on how she uses Lotsa Helping Hands. To begin, though, I want to share our agenda for the day. We will be talking a little bit of an introduction as it relates to Lotsa Helping Hands and how we use the service and how the service can be used to help military families. We'll then share some stories of inspiration that we know will leave you with many ideas for how you can be using Lotsa Helping Hands. We'll then walk you through how it works, how to get started in creating and using a community, whether you choose to create a private or open community at Lotsa. And then we'll share some tips for helping military families and then open it up for Q&A. So to begin, in describing Lotsa Helping Hands, for more than 5 years, we've been powering online caring communities at lotsahelpinghands.com, which translate into help for families in a wide variety of circumstances, from supporting an aging parent with Alzheimer's to caring for a sick child or a loved one in the military. And obviously that's the topic for today. So often people in challenging times are asked, what can I do to help? And we created Lotsa Helping Hands out of personal experiences to to be able to answer that question, what can I do to help? And to bring together a person's circles of community, their family, their friends, their neighbors, their colleagues, people from their religious community, all those folks who have said to a family in need, I want to help you, what can I do? Lotsa Helping Hands brings together those individuals in a way that allows them to help through our service. we've been inspired in particular as it relates to helping military families by our membership. We have over 1 million people who've been participating in Lotsa Helping Hands communities, and these are just some of the testimonials that they've shared with us. People who say, we can donate items around the holidays, but I want to do more. I'd like to offer meals in my home to members of the military. Or another that said they read about a tragic loss of someone in their hometown, someone that this person didn't know, but she was so touched by his loss and she really wanted to offer her help and wrote to us inquiring how she could do so. Or another military wife who needs help from time to time and loves giving back to others who need help as well. We get these often from military families themselves who may need help on an occasional basis, but also want to give back to others who are in need. And then many, many folks write to us saying they are retired and have a lot of extra free time. Is there anything in their area or their local town that they might be able to do to offer their help? And so these types of testimonials that we've been receiving really inspired us to more formally launch our Help on the Homefront campaign. As Hal mentioned, over the years, we've been really proud and honored by the 500 caring communities that have been created to support and help military families. And these volunteers are delivering meals, they're coordinating childcare, sending care packages, and providing relief for families during deployment. And so whether you know a military family or you want to help a military family, we're here today to show you how to get started, because it is our belief that it does take a community to help a military family. Probably the best way to share Lotsa and the impact that it can have in local communities is through storytelling. And that's why we're so delighted to have Sarah joining us today to tell us more about Joe's Army Angels. And as we talked about, I'm just going to ask you some questions and have you just share free form your experience, because it's such an inspiration. Why don't you start by telling us about your brother and why you created your Lotsa Helping Hands community?
So my brother, Joe, is a West Point graduate who is permanently stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord in the Seattle-Tacoma area. He left with his platoon to deploy for a 9-month stint in Afghanistan in late April. And when we were spending time together in the about 30 days before he left, because I live maybe 2.5 hours south of his permanent station in Oregon, talking about what I could do, and kind of the joke in the family is I'm the resident organizer of everybody. And he said to me one day, here's the thing for me, sis, I have all these friends and family who love and support me, and I know that I'm going to be showered with care packages while I'm away, but I lead a group of folks, many of whom don't have family support structures, and so I'd rather that instead of organizing care packages for me, that you take on adopting all my guys and making sure that they are loved while we're away, because many of them don't have family in a position to do that. And so that's sort of like throwing down the gauntlet for me as a project manager and as an older sister who cares a lot about her brother. And so I went home that night and Googled, website to coordinate care packages and found Lotsa.
Wow. I'm sure you took the task on immediately, as you said. It's so inspiring. And have you and your brother always been close, it sounds like, and has he given you other challenges like this in the past?
Yes, there's a significant age difference between us. He's like 14 years younger than I am, and so we have had become closer as he's become an adult. But yeah, it's sort of the joke in the family. I'm the resident trip organizer. I'm the resident scheduler of activities. This was just the latest in a long line of, how can she organize our lives?
Well, every family needs one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us, who is involved in your community, and are they located locally, or is it across the country? What are the
Joe, as you might imagine, he grew up in northern Idaho. He was a West Point grad. We have family all across the Pacific Northwest. And so what we did was put together a private community at Lotsa to support him and his platoon, and then invited sort of all of our immediate and extended family members to participate, and then some of Joe's close friends also to participate. So we have people in California, in New York, in Washington, in Oregon, in Idaho. It's all sort of virtually connected people who want to support Joe by supporting his guys. And that's probably been the coolest thing, is it doesn't have to, for us, we've chosen to use it not just as a way to support a single person in a single place, but to connect a whole bunch of people to support folks from all over the country. His soldiers are from, many different states, and so it's a way for us to engage virtually to support him.
That's great. And I recall you sharing with me in an earlier conversation that some volunteers are part of Joe's Army Angels, but they are not necessarily getting online themselves. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the challenges I was describing to Brooks is that my grandparents, my aunts and uncles are enough older that technology isn't necessarily comfortable for them. And so what we did was work out a process where the basic premise of the site lets people sign up to have specific activities. When I want to sign somebody up who's not comfortable with technology, I assign that activity to myself, and then I print them a version of the instructions and send it to them snail mail so that they can follow through on their commitment. And so it's because it's so powerful technology, it's super easy to engage people who aren't technologically savvy but still want to make a difference.
That's great. And I was so happy to hear that you're using that responsible member feature within the website service that really can involve everybody in community that wants to be a part of it. So that's really great to hear. So how often are you sending care packages? And we're going to show some photos here, but I'd love for you to tell the audience the types of things you include in them.
Yeah, so he has 14 guys in his platoon, and they're gone for 9 months. So we worked out a schedule where every guy would get 3 care packages over the course of the 9 months. And we put all kinds of different stuff in it. I have a cousin who works for a book publisher, so one of the pictures you see is her sending books for guys in his platoon to pick up and read in their free time. We stack packages with things like 5-hour energy drinks, granola bars, powdered drink mixes because it's really hot there and they have to drink so much liquid to stay healthy that they're begging for flavor to put in it. We send personal comfort kinds of things, soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, razors, all different kinds of snacky things that travel well over there. And then every guy will get at least 3 packages in their 9-month deployment.
Wow, that's a significant number. That's amazing. And I see their Nutter Butters are a favorite for this one.
Yeah, for sure. Nutter Butters are good.
Absolutely. Who doesn't like those? Well, what has been the most surprising thing you've noticed from this experience, either from your perspective as the Uber organizer that you are, or even from feedback that you've received from volunteers as well as from the servicemen in his platoon?
So I think for me it's really twofold. I didn't have appreciation until my brother sort of initially asked me that there would be people who would go on deployment who didn't have family to support them. My frame of reference was everybody must love their deployed soldier as much as my family loves Joe. And so I think that was sort of a realization for me that made it even more important to deliver on support for people who are making, potentially the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that I can live in the way that I want to live. And so I think the other piece was how easy it is to make such a meaningful difference. I mean, when we first started sending care packages over, you know, they were so appreciative. In the very first care package I sent 15 Mother's Day cards, right? So the boys could each pick a card and send back to their mom. And they were all just so sort of thankful and appreciative that someone would be so thoughtful to think about that they should think about honoring their moms while they
Wow.
were away. And so I think for me, it's how simple and easy it is to make such a big difference in not just my brother's life, but you know, in the lives of all his soldiers. And in terms of effort, I think it took me 2 hours one night to set up the website. It, you know, took me having conversations with friends and family to brainstorm stuff to send in packages. And everybody who I talk to wants to be a part of it. And so it's just really easy with very little effort to make, you know, a pretty significant difference to these guys while they're making huge sacrifice on our behalf.
Wow, that's wonderful. Um, what would your advice be, Sarah, to someone like you who is really inspired to help, whether their own family member or another someone that they may know, a military family? Would you be able to offer them any advice based on your experience?
Yeah, so I think for me there were a couple of things that mattered as it related to military. So different than supporting a local military family, I was really worried about safety and security for my brother. And so understanding that Lotsa had both open community options and closed options, so I could control who had access to the community, who could see, because there's very specific information about where they're located. And, you know, in the face of all the technology that's available, it was important for me to protect their safety and security. So that's sort of one piece of advice. If you're supporting deployed soldiers, you probably should use the closed community function as compared to the open community function. I think the other thing is, for me, I set it all up with myself as the only person because I wanted to try it and figure out how it worked. And everything start to finish, I think only took me about 2 hours to do. And so it's super easy. You know, Brooks kind of asked me, like, what if people want to help you? I said, I want them to help other people. You know, and so I want the message for the folks on the phone to be, it's so easy that you could just as easily adopt another platoon of folks to help. And certainly I know that, you know, lots of folks use these to help families of deployed soldiers who are left at home. And so the flexibility of the tool means get an idea, spend 2 hours, set up a website, and you're off and running. Super easy.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you. That's really, really good advice. Is there anything else that you want to share about your experience that we may not have covered in my questions?
No, I mean, I think the piece is just knowing how little effort makes such a substantial experience to people who are so far away, makes it hard not to want to, you know, do the next big project, the next big platoon. My family members are already saying, what are we going to do when they come home? Like,
Right.
maybe we got to adopt somebody else's platoon once they get back.
Well, you
And so
certainly you certainly could use Lotsa to organize those volunteers for the welcome party, right?
yeah, for sure, for sure. So, super excited to have had it be such an easy experience, and that's my big takeaway: is it shouldn't scare anybody. The technology makes it super easy to make a real difference with relatively little effort.
Great. That's a wonderful summary. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your story. I just want to close with two items. The first is for the audience today. Sarah has graciously shared with us that she is open and willing to share parts of the private community with organizations who might be on the call if they want to see the types of activities happening inside the communities. We have contact information for you at the end of the webinar, so we can give you limited access to see inside the private community to get some ideas on how it may work. So thank you, Sarah, for that gracious.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Um, and secondly, on behalf of the whole team at Lotsa Helping Hands, we wanted to share with you, Sarah, that we will be making a small but donation to Joe's Army Angels for your next care package to support your efforts and as our expression of thanks for participating in our story project and in this special webinar today. So thank you very much on
That's
behalf of all of us.
super thoughtful, and I'm really grateful for the contribution. Every dollar helps, cover postage. We're keeping the U.S. Postal Service in business. So.
Absolutely. And I know Hal Chapel, who made our introductions, and everyone on the team here at Lotsa, we just want to thank you for your service and for your brother's service and his entire platoon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we are going to move on and share one more story that we have at Lotsa Helping Hands today. And that is Celine's Helping Hands, which is a different type of story, but one that we've seen happen over and over again at Lotsa Helping Hands. And Celine was gracious enough to allow us to share her story on her behalf because she was not able to join us today. Celine's husband, Michael, and 3 young daughters are from Philadelphia. And Michael was previously an active duty soldier, and after September 11th, he re-enlisted as a reservist, and he's currently on his 2nd deployment, stationed in Horn of Africa until late winter or even the early spring of 2013. And so what happened with Celine's story is more than 30 friends and neighbors came together to create Celine's Helping Hands. And part of why this is so inspirational, and I think provides a lot of ideas for many of you on the line, is the O'Neills don't have any family in town, and they're not near a base, and so they don't have a lot of support from their local community and from their local family. So this friend created Celine's Helping Hands in order to support her and her girls. More than 30 friends and neighbors are regularly delivering meals. They're providing babysitting and play dates, carpooling, all those things that really help Celine get some relief that she needs, being the sole provider of care to her children and her family while Michael is deployed. And so we want to thank Celine so much for sharing her story with us today. One of the things that she shared with me was resonated so much because it's something that we hear over and over again, and it's hard for me to call up people and ask for help, even those people who say to me, let me know what I can do. And with the Lotsa website, Celine's Helping Hands, she says it takes the guesswork out of it for her so that people can choose how they want to help. And we hope that as we demonstrate the service today, you'll see how that's possible. So thank you so much to Celine and Michael for allowing us to share your inspiring story as well. So how does it work? Let's get into that so all of you on the line can continue to think about the ways in which you might want to get involved. If you go to lotsahelpinghands.com, you can see here on our homepage, by clicking on the Get Started tab, it will take you to a form that's very simple to fill out. It takes about a minute to create a community at Lotsa Helping Hands. And this is what the form looks like. Again, you can get there by going to the Get Started tab at lotsahelpinghands.com. You can fill out the form first by sharing a little bit about your community. So you'll want to give your community a name. Maybe it's Mary's Helping Hands or Help for Springfield Military Families. You'll tell us the community purpose, the zip code and country where you're located. We also, as we talked about earlier, have 2 types of communities, both private and open, and I'm going to walk you through the differences of each a little bit later on in the how it works section. But you'll want to indicate if you want your community to be private or if you want it to be open to the general public. Next, you'll talk about the community leader. That's you. That's the first person who creates the community. And that community leader has the administrative privileges throughout the community to do the various tasks that are required. What's good for you to know is you can have more than one community leader and coordinator of the community. While Sarah is absolutely an Uber organizer, if you do have a situation where you want to have different coordinators and leaders assisting with that organization, you can do so after you've created the community initially. We also provide helpful resources for your community that you can choose from here. You'll see that there's our terms of use and privacy policy that you can review and indicate your approval of. And then you basically have created your community website. So here's a sample community called Ashley and Todd's Helping Hands. And this is a community example where Ashley has been deployed and Todd is in need of some extra help with caring for their young children while mom is serving. And you can see here along the top, there are different tabs that orient you to your community. The Me tab is the person that's signed in. The People tab is where you will have your list of volunteers. There's a link to the help calendar, which I'll show you in a moment. And then the Administration tab is the hallmark of the site where you as the coordinator can carry out many of the functions within the community website. On the lower navigation, there are places to post announcements, store information, upload photos, upload specific resources for the community, and post well wishes. And I'll walk you through each of those as well, or many of those. So this is a view of the help calendar, and the help calendar is a great way to organize all that help. And so essentially what happens is the coordinator posts the tasks that require helping for the family. So maybe it is assembling care packages, or maybe it's providing meals on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or taking a young child to soccer practice every other Saturday. Whatever the family might need, the coordinator in collaboration with the family can post these tasks on the calendar. It's very simple to do by clicking on the Create a New Activity button that you see here. Then when volunteers sign into the community, as you can see here, the items in green are those that require helping. The items in blue indicate that somebody's already volunteered. And depending on who's signed in, if you've scheduled yourself to bring a meal, you would see that little icon that is up at above the calendar. Volunteers sign in and they see what tasks are needed. They sign up, and then our system sends reminders regularly so that everyone remembers what they signed up for. And it's a great way to keep those details of an activity very clear for the family. Just to add to that, for example, if you were to have a meal activity within your community and there are dietary restrictions for the family, all of those restrictions could be entered one time for that activity so that any volunteer that's bringing a meal could see that the family has a nut allergy, and so no food can be delivered with nut products, as an example. But the coordinator doesn't have to enter that information every time. They can enter it for the activity and can schedule months and months of meals with those instructions for the very enthusiastic number of volunteers who might be participating. So the calendar has many, many features like that that allow for customization so that the community can really be working in specific needs for the family. So what about adding people to your community? It's a wonderful way, obviously, to answer that question, what can I do to help? For those people who say, I really want to support a military family in my local town, or for people who want to help Joe's Army Angels or Celine's Helping Hands, you can build out your help team very easily from the people and administration tabs within your Lotsa Helping Hands community. You can also designate additional community leaders through the People tab, and you simply add the first name, last name, and email address of each member that you want to join. And what's wonderful is that we provide a templated email for you. So you're not sending out individual emails. You're not going to have to manage email or text or phone tag. I think text and email tags are probably more common now than phone tag, but it's a really great way to send to a large number of people who've offered to help information about joining the community. We have the templated email with a link that allows people to click on it, set their password, become part of the community, and start helping. So it's a very efficient way to answer the question, what can I do to help, and get people organized very quickly. One of the most exciting newer features at Lotsa Helping Hands is groups. And we wanted to point this out because we thought it was particularly relevant for military families and communities supporting military families, because groups allow you to organize your community in very specific ways. So let's say, for example, you have a community with 100 volunteers. Not all of them might be available for giving rides or making meals, or you may not be comfortable with everyone in that community providing childcare support. There's a way now within the system that you can see here, you can have a group by name, in this case an approved transport group, and then you can identify by simply checking on an individual's names those folks who are going to be part of that particular group. And so when somebody signs in and they haven't been designated as approved for the transportation group, they wouldn't even see that activity on the calendar. They would only see activities that they've been made part of that group. So it's a really great way to organize volunteers. And we have some military communities that have hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. And so it would be unwieldy to have everybody signing up for every single type of activity. Another example is the care package assembly. There may be some volunteers in your community that would love to participate in this way because it fits their schedule. It allows them to involve their children perhaps, and they're really not able to do a lot of other things during a particular amount of time, so they just sign up to be part of, or they request to be part of, the care package assembly. And as I said, a child care group is another example of places where we've seen folks want to designate certain members to participate. So we encourage you to explore the groups feature and see how it might work for you in your particular situation. Some other features within Lotsa Helping Hands fall under the category of our community building features. And we all know that certainly families in challenging times, military families experiencing a deployment or care for a loved one upon arrival home, we know that they need help. We know that they need day-to-day help, an extra hand for a meal or a ride or a visit. But we also know that a lot of goodness comes from the emotional support as well. And so the service includes things like a message board, which is a great way to connect and keep up with members of the community. It's also a wonderful way to share information or ask a question in the neighborhood. You know, does anybody have a good resource for home repairs, for a house renovation? We've had some military families benefit from that through Lotsa Helping Hands volunteers. So it's a nice way to keep in touch with the family. I personally was part of a community for a family that was going through a deployment, and during that time, the soldier, for a very limited amount of time, was actually able to himself to post on the message board and say thank you to the community of helpers who were supporting his wife during his deployment. So there's some really creative things that also can be done with the message board. We also have a well wishes wall that essentially allows you to post well wishes to that family, to drop a line, to say hello, to let people know that you're thinking of them. It's another wonderful way to share in community and to share in the experience that the family is going through. As we've alluded to in the discussion today, we at Lotsa Helping Hands have two types of communities that can be created, and they're called private and open. And the descriptions are fairly simple, but we wanted to make sure we described them each to you, and you can think through what might make the most sense for your particular experience. So a private community, by and large, is what Lotsa Helping Hands has been offering since its inception. And this essentially is when everyone in the community generally knows the family or individual being helped. Oftentimes the community is set up to help just one family. For example, Celine's Helping Hands. That community is in place just to help Celine manage her life right now when Michael is deployed. All of the information in the community is private, it's secure, and it's not searchable through Lotsa Helping Hands or through anywhere on the internet. So it is very much a private community, and we often get emails from folks saying, I want to join Bob's Helping Hands, but I can't find it. And that's intentional, because you need to be invited to join or request membership to the coordinator. And private communities are a great solution for many military families, as we've shared with you today. And certainly, if that's something that's of interest to you, you can check on the private community option when you're filling out the form and creating a community. But what's been interesting here at Lotsa Helping Hands over the course of our history is we've seen communities created to help more than one family in towns and neighborhoods across the country. Maybe there's a family that needs support because they've lost their home to a house fire, or a military family that doesn't have any family or close friends because they've just moved to an area, but they need some help. Or maybe somebody is living alone and doesn't have a lot of helpers, or their family is on another coast, and they really need to tap into the local volunteer base that may exist in their town or neighborhood. And so we created the open community model to really bring together multiple groups of people, from community groups to schools and universities, neighborhoods, religious communities, to help multiple families in need. So the general principles around an open community is that anyone can be approved by a coordinator to either offer their help or receive help. And they do have to go through an approval process, which is outlined on our website. But it's not required that the volunteer know the particular family being helped. Oftentimes, open communities are also set up to help multiple families or individuals in a local area. So Helping Hands of Springfield, for example, you may be a volunteer one day and you may be a recipient next month, depending on what's going on in your particular situation. The other thing that's very unique about the open community model is that people can search for your community to offer or request help through the Lotsa Helping Hands location-based search form. That was a mouthful. Excuse me. And so let me show you what that is. Essentially, if you go to Lotsa Helping Hands, those communities that have been designated as open by the coordinator when they created the community, they will be found via the Lotsa Helping Hands location-based search form. And so all you need to do is enter in the city and state or your zip code, and you can essentially search for an open community to see if there's one in your area. Now, you may not find one right away. We've launched this service in June, and we're still getting the word out and working with local organizations to spread the word about open communities. If you don't find one in your area, then you certainly can create one yourself, and we can walk you through that as well. And we've got a few webinars on our website that walk you in more detail through the steps of that process. But let's say, for example, that we did a search and we found Springfield Helping Hands. This is a specific community that's designed to offer help to a military family in Springfield. And so Springfield Helping Hands is a group of people dedicated to provide that assistance to military families. Now, what's really important to also mention here is that open communities can help multiple families in the local town or neighborhood that are military focused, obviously, as we're talking about today, and we know that that is certainly happening across the country. But it doesn't have to be limited to one type of help. You could be helping a military family, you could be helping someone who is undergoing treatment for cancer, you can be helping perhaps an older adult who's living alone. So it doesn't have to be limited to one type of help or another, but it can be. It's really up to you. If you are in your local community and you really know and are aware that there are many military families that need some extra help, you could designate your community to offer that help just for military families. So it's not for us at Lotsa to say how you should be using these communities and who you should be helping. But the technology and the model is there for you to organize around helping in the way that fits your needs and the needs of the local town and neighbors that you want to be supporting. So we wanted to talk a little bit about tips for helping, and this is one of the things that we get asked quite a bit at Lotsa Helping Hands, and are often working with members of our communities to talk through some of these challenges, because especially as it relates to caregivers and caregivers of veterans and certainly military families, and really anyone that's going through a life challenge, it's not always easy to ask for help. And so we often share some tips to folks, and we're hoping that these are helpful to you. First is to be mindful of initial resistance. How often have you found yourself in a situation where you see a friend going through something, you see a friend whose spouse is going to be deployed, and you say, wow, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you? And that's really a heartfelt offer, and it's something that you really truly want to do. But oftentimes we're met with resistance, aren't we? That person says, oh, I'll be fine, or I'll let you know. And it really takes courage to ask for help and to answer that question. And so we believe here at Lotsa Helping Hands that we all need to take responsibility to start having the word help be a positive word, if you will. But don't allow that initial resistance from someone that you offer help to stop you from trying to assist them in the ways that might make the most impact for them. And here are some ideas. One is to be really specific with the offers of help that you provide. So rather than saying, what can I do to help, and leaving it open-ended, another idea might be to offer to bring a meal on Tuesday, or to say to your friend, you know what, Amy, we've got soccer practice every Saturday morning. I'm going to go ahead and drive your kids to soccer every Saturday so that you can take a walk, or so that you can take a nap. How does that sound? It often makes it easier for people in need if you give them something very, very specific when you offer that help. Another tip is to put yourself in their shoes and think about what you would need and offer it. I mean, in the case of Celine's Helping Hands, it's so interesting. Her 30 friends came together, and they're offering the type of help that they know they would need. If their husband was deployed and they were home with 3 children and managing the day-to-day tasks that come with those responsibilities, what do they want? Do they want a guilt-free break to be able to take a longer shower that day, or go and go to the spa, or just take a nap? These are types of things that if you put yourself in their shoes and offer those specific types of help, it can go a long way. Offer to be the messenger. One of the biggest challenges that people in need often have is figuring out how to keep everybody updated on what's going on with the family. And so this is another way to be specific and say, you know what, Amy, I'm going to be the one, if it works for you, I'm going to be the one to keep friends and neighbors updated about what's going on and how everybody's doing, so that you're not bombarded with phone calls. And that way you can tap in when you want to, but let me be the messenger for you. And finally, to really organize all of these different tips, you can build a community of helping hands for them. And we encourage you, again, to be specific about that. You'll want to work with the family to think through what specific things you can do for them. And one of them might be, look, I'm going to organize all this through a group called Lotsa Helping Hands, and let's get specific about the types of things that you need help with. And sometimes what happens is the family being helped may not even be part of the community at the beginning. We've seen that over and over again, where the family might share with the coordinator the types of help they need once that conversation has gotten started, but they themselves may not even be in the community for a few weeks until they kind of understand what's going on. And that's fine too. So it really is very much a personal decision based on the family and the volunteers who are helping. Let's say, though, that you're interested in not just doing a private community to support one military family, but maybe you're in a particular town or neighborhood that has many military families in it that you want to be helping. And so we have a lot of different resources for you, but the place to start is to create a community website at Lotsa Helping Hands and to choose open in the form so that it is searchable and you can have multiple volunteers within your community who can be supporting the families, whether it's creating care packages, as Sarah shared, or perhaps having a Saturday event where everybody's making meals for families. Lots of different ways that you can organize and collaborate with multiple volunteers, but volunteers need to know how to find you. So it's important to choose open so it's searchable, and then let people know in your description that when you're creating the community that your organization is helping military families in Springfield, as an example. Next, we encourage you to identify local organizations for outreach. So there are definitely so many organizations, both nationally and locally, that are supporting military families and doing, as Hal mentioned at the top of the hour, amazing and critical work with our nation's military families. And Lotsa Helping Hands certainly is an opportunity to augment that and provide a way to organize the volunteers. But to get the word out through these local organizations and collaborate with them is so, so important, so that more military families are aware of the open community that you've created, and people can offer to help and they can request help from your open community. We do have a getting started toolkit that we can share with those of you who are interested in creating an open community in your town or neighborhood. And so we'd be happy to share that with you as a way for you to get started in thinking about how to organize help for your open community at Lotsa Helping Hands. We did want to just highlight kind of a take-home message that we believe so strongly, and I alluded to it earlier in this idea that asking for help is not always an easy thing to do, and offering help is a wonderful thing to do, but there are ways that we can even do it better, so that help can be a really positive and inspirational word in our country where people don't have to feel embarrassed to say, you know what, I really do need a couple meals every week, or wow, it really would help me to get some respite every Saturday morning if you could take the kids to practice. And so we just really want to emphasize the value of each one of us in our lives to be able to offer really specific help to people in need and encourage those who might need help to feel really good about asking for it, because chances are if you're receiving it one day, you might be offering it the next, and it's a really wonderful thing to be able to do and offer in our day-to-day lives. So for those of you who are individuals on the call today here to listen and learn more, we would just encourage you to visit Lotsa, start the conversation with those in your life who you're wanting to help, or perhaps you're the one who needs some help, and you can start the conversation with your friends and family who've offered it, and then to go ahead and create a community and see what it's all about to get started. The service is free, and the information, if you create a private community, is private and secure. So we encourage you to take a look and start that conversation and create your Lotsa Helping Hands community. For those of you who are with us today as organizations who are already supporting our nation's military families, we just encourage you to connect with us. This is the beginning of our campaign, and we'd really love to work with you. We have a marketing kit for national and local nonprofit organizations in the military space. We have a resource directory where we'd love to feature the great work that you're doing and see if we can't be a resource for you in the work that you're already doing in the community. So at this point, I would love to open it up for some Q&A for about just a few minutes. If folks have questions, you can see on the control panel, at the GoToWebinar control panel, there is a question box. And so I'd encourage you to go ahead and type any questions that you might have so that I can answer them live. And anything that we aren't able to answer, I will be sure that we follow up with you and we can answer those questions via email or a phone call, and certainly happy to help. Okay, it looks like I'm getting a couple questions in. And the first is this service okay to use for a veteran not currently deployed and someone who needs some extra help and visits. Absolutely. So you don't need to use Lotsa Helping Hands in one particular way. If there's somebody that is in need, you absolutely can use Lotsa Helping Hands to support them. And so it's not specific. Our goal is to provide a platform and a service that organizes that help. So it can be organized for a variety of different needs. And this particular focus of our webinar today is related to helping military families and veterans, and certainly that's a wonderful way to participate. Another person is asking if I've heard of a particular community network, and so we'll go ahead and follow up with you specifically on that. Another person asked that I'm a participant on the only community in Colorado Springs, but I'm not seeing the rest of your question, Jim. Oh, here it is. I've only been asked once to help someone. How do I locate others that need help? So that's a great question. If you're interested in helping and you aren't able to find people who need help, one of the things that you can do, Jim, is you can actually search at Lotsa Helping Hands via your zip code, and you can actually expand the search beyond a particular mileage, so that maybe people outside of Colorado Springs as well might pop up for you. And if you don't see a community right now, we would just encourage you to start talking with your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors to see if there are ways that you can support your local citizens. And so maybe if you got a group of folks together, you all could create a community on your own and get the word out so that people can find out about your community and its availability to help. Is there a form to get to run a specific idea for a community that I have in mind for military? Meaning, where can I speak directly with people who have already been through the ropes already? This is a great question, Lizanne. I really appreciate it. We definitely have communities that are already operating as open communities supporting military families. So we'd be more than happy to talk with you about ways to learn and get some best practices. We're also happy to share our toolkit with you so that you can tap into some of those initial ideas and resources that we have. Okay, probably going to try to take a couple more questions. Oh, here's a great one. Can you change the focus of your community, the name description, once you've already put it in a community in place? Absolutely. These communities are yours. They are your sacred gathering space. And so if you one day want to call it Helping Hands for Tina, and the next day you want to call it, Springfield Helpers, that is absolutely your prerogative. You can modify the name of the community, you can modify the photo that appears, the welcome message, announcements, resources within the community. A whole variety of things can be customized to really make the community your own. Okay, and I have a bunch of people that are asking for the toolkit, and so absolutely, we'll share that out with folks. And then I receive another one asking if they could get a copy of the webinar to present to my organization. So thank you so much for that question, and absolutely, we can provide copies of this webinar, as well as we will be doing a recording of it, and so we'll be sharing that out with folks as well, and we welcome you to point people to it so they can listen to it as well. So in closing, I think I got to most of the questions. There were just a handful that we won't have time for today, but again, happy to share them with you, or share the answers with you as a follow-up to this discussion. I hope that today was helpful. I'm sure it was inspiring hearing Sarah and Celine's stories, because really our members tell it the best. And so, but I hope you got enough information to understand how Lotsa Helping Hands might be right for you in the work that you're doing to support our nation's military families. We would love for you to connect with us. Obviously, we're active on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. But specific to right now, we've also recently launched on Pinterest and are really delighted to display a board called We're So Grateful. And there you will see a number of different inspiring photographs and stories of people that have been touched by our nation's military families and by the volunteers that are supporting them. So if you haven't already, check us out there and please share with us, because we want to continue to hear and learn from you. If you do have technical questions or want some help getting started, you can always go to our member support center, and the best way to reach them is through support@lotsahelpinghands.com. And we provide round-the-clock support for folks. And so if you are going to be creating a community and you want to understand some of the technical components, please feel free to email us at support. We're always there and ready to provide help. If you are interested in partnerships and marketing, or cross-promoting with us and being part of our resource directory, please contact our team at marketing@lotsahelpinghands.com. And I can assure you that we'll be right back in touch with you to make sure that we learn more about your organization, the work that you're doing, so we can promote it, and certainly happy to share our toolkit with you and think through how we might collaborate together. So in closing, we just wanted to share a theme that resonates very much here at Lotsa Helping Hands, because we have had the privilege of talking to so many who are overwhelmed with life challenges that feel so big. When someone is deployed or someone comes home wounded, it's often felt that the challenge is so big, and how can I, one person, make any kind of difference? And so we just wanted to leave you with the idea of never underestimating the impact of what might seem to you as a very small act of helping, that, if it's like dropping a pebble in a pond, it has the ripple effect. And so providing one warm meal to a military family, or volunteering one afternoon to assemble a care package, and then you tell somebody, and so on and so on, and more people get helped, and more people start talking about the power of helping. And so we encourage you to remember that even the smallest task of an act of helping can make a real big impact on our nation's military families who do so much for our freedom. So with that, I want to thank you all for participating in our first of what we hope to be a number of webinars related to our Help on the Homefront campaign. We hope you stay in touch with us and continue to ask us questions and stay involved, so that we can support our nation's military families together. So thank you very much for participating today.